Wait, they actually enjoy this? The observation was met with silence, a rare occurrence among the gathered leaders of the Galactic Council. Each of the alien representatives fixated their attention on the screen before them, where 5 feet of the battlefield displayed a scene that none of them could have predicted. Human soldiers moved with a speed and coordination that defied their physiology. The enemy, the combined forces of the Raskar and Yali, two of the most feared warrior species in the galaxy, had been expected to crush the human resistance within days. Instead, they were the ones being driven back, outmaneuvered, and utterly outclassed. "Have you ever seen them like this?" one of the Raskar generals asked, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and something else, fear. The humans were supposed to be fragile, emotional, unpredictable. "They are," replied the Yatali war leader, his mandibles clicking nervously. "But there's something else at play here. They don't just fight, they thrive in this environment." The humans were pushing forward, their weapons a blur of energy and kinetic rounds. But it wasn't just the technology that was making the difference. It was the way they moved, the way they seemed to anticipate every attack, every feint. They fought like they were born to it, like the chaos and bloodshed were as natural to them as breathing. In the command center aboard the Galactic Council's flagship, the aliens watched as the humans set traps with frightening efficiency, leading the enemy forces into kill zones where they were cut down with ruthless precision. The humans didn't give their enemies time to regroup, didn't allow them a moment's rest. They were relentless. "How did we miss this?" the Yatali war leader asked, more to himself than to anyone else. "We've been observing them for centuries, studying their every move. How could we have missed this side of them?" The Raskar general had no answer, and neither did anyone else in the room. Down on the battlefield, a group of human soldiers cornered a squad of Yatali. The Yatali were larger, stronger, and better armored. It didn't matter. The humans struck like a pack of predators, taking out the Yatali with a combination of brute force and surgical strikes. The fight was over in seconds, the Yatali left sprawled on the ground, lifeless. "They're not fighting to survive," a voice said, cutting through the silence. It was one of the Council's advisors, an ancient being who had seen countless wars. "They're fighting because they want to, because they enjoy it." The implications were chilling. Throughout galactic history, the ability to wage war effectively had always been tempered by a species' reluctance to do so. Even the most warlike species had limits, lines they wouldn't cross. But humans seemed to have no such boundaries. "This is why they were prohibited from galactic warfare," the Raskar general muttered. "It wasn't to protect them, it was to protect us." The screen showed another scene of carnage, as a human tank battalion crushed through enemy lines, followed by infantry that moved with terrifying speed and coordination. There was no hesitation, no mercy. The humans advanced, and their enemies fell. "How do we stop them?" the Yatali war leader asked, his voice edged with panic. "We can't let them continue. They'll win," the advisor interrupted. "And when they do, the entire galaxy will know what they're capable of." There was no longer any doubt among the Council. They had underestimated the humans, misjudged their capacity for war, and now it was too late to stop them. On the battlefield, the humans continued their advance, pushing the combined alien forces back with a relentless assault that left no room for escape. They fought like a species that had been held back for too long, finally given the opportunity to unleash their full potential. The Raskar general watched as a human soldier tore through a group of Yali with nothing more than a combat knife, moving with a speed and precision that defied belief. There was no fear in the human's eyes, no hesitation, only focus. Only the thrill of the fight. "We've made a grave mistake," the general said quietly. "We should never have allowed this to happen." The advisor nodded. "The galaxy will never be the same. Not after this." The screen flickered as the feed shifted to a new scene, one that showed the aftermath of a human bombing run. The landscape was unrecognizable, scorched and shattered, with nothing left standing. In the distance, the human forces regrouped, preparing for the next phase of the battle. "They won't stop," the Yatali war leader said, his voice trembling. "Even if they win, they won't stop." The advisor didn't respond. He didn't need to. They all knew the truth now. The humans were more than just warriors. They were something far more dangerous, and they had been unleashed. The command center was a hive of frantic activity. Advisors and generals of various species rushed to and fro, debating, arguing, and sending orders in a desperate attempt to stem the tide. But there was a growing sense of inevitability in the room. a realization that the war was slipping out of their control. The humans were advancing too quickly, too effectively. Have we considered orbital bombardment? One of the council members, a Gretan with an elongated serpentine body, suggested, his voice wavering with uncertainty. If we can't match them on the ground, we should destroy them from above. The suggestion was met with a tense silence. It was a tactic the council had used before on less developed worlds, when an enemy proved too difficult to defeat by conventional means. But this was different. The humans had demonstrated a resilience and adaptability that none of them had expected. Even if they rained destruction down from the skies, there was no guarantee it would be enough to stop the human forces. We can't risk it, the Raskar general finally replied, his voice heavy with resignation. Their fleets are already moving to intercept ours. Any attempt to bombard their positions could provoke a counterstrike. We've seen what they can do in close combat. Do you really want to see what they're capable of in space? The Gretan council member recoiled slightly, his scales shimmering with unease. No one in the room wanted to test the limits of human warfare any further. The screen before them continued to display the battle in excruciating detail. The humans were now entrenched in key positions, fortifying their gains and cutting off any attempts by the alien forces to regroup. It was clear that the human commanders were not just fighting for victory. They were systematically dismantling the enemy's ability to fight back. Send in the reserves, the Yatali war leader ordered, desperation creeping into his voice. All of them. We need to overwhelm them with sheer numbers. Reserves won't matter, the advisor said calmly, his eyes fixed on the screen. The humans have been holding back. They've only deployed a fraction of their forces. They're waiting for us to commit everything, and then they'll strike. The Yatali war leader turned to face the advisor, his eyes wide with disbelief. You're saying this is a trap? That they're toying with us? The advisor nodded. They've been studying us as much as we've been studying them. They know our tactics, our strategies. They're using this battle to prove a point, to show us what happens when we underestimate them. The war leader's mandibles clicked in frustration, but he knew the advisor was right. The humans had lured them into this fight, drawing them in with the promise of an easy victory. And now they were demonstrating their true capabilities. On the screen, the battle continued to unfold with brutal efficiency. Human forces were now driving deep into enemy territory, cutting off supply lines and destroying key infrastructure. The combined alien armies were being fragmented, isolated, and annihilated. They've broken through the Western Front, one of the Raskar generals reported, his voice filled with disbelief. We had 5 divisions there. They were some of our best troops. They're gone now, the advisor said, his voice cold and detached. They took them out in under an hour. An hour? The Gretan council member repeated, his voice barely a whisper. How is that possible? It's not just their technology, the advisor explained. It's their psychology. Humans are unpredictable. Yes, but when they're united in a common cause, when they believe they have something to fight for, they become unstoppable. The room fell silent as the weight of the advisor's words settled over them. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were waging a campaign of annihilation, one that was driven by a collective will to win at any cost. Then we need to divide them, the Yatali war leader said, his voice filled with renewed determination. Find a way to turn them against each other. Exploit their unpredictability. If we can sow discord among their ranks, we might have a chance. It's too late for that, the advisor replied, shaking his head. They've been underestimated for too long. Now that they've been given the opportunity, they're more united than ever. Trying to divide them would only strengthen their resolve. The Yatali war leader's shoulders slumped in defeat. So what do we do? Just sit here and watch as they destroy us? The advisor didn't answer. Instead, he turned his attention back to the screen, where the humans were now launching a coordinated assault on the enemy's central command. It was a bold move, one that risked leaving their flanks exposed, but the humans seemed to thrive on such risks. They were always 2 steps ahead, always in control. The room was silent again as the screen flashed with the images of the enemy command being obliterated. The humans were already moving on their next objective, leaving nothing in their wake but devastation. They're coming for us next, the Raskar general whispered, his voice barely audible. They're going to finish this. And when they do, the advisor didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone in the room knew exactly what he was going to say. The humans would win, and after they won, they would leave no survivors. Prepare for the worst, the advisor said softly, and pray that we're wrong.